Cənab İqor Avçarenkonu səhnəyə dəvət edirik.
Hello, everyone. My name is Igor. I'm going to be the humble moderator of the second panel, where we're going to talk about science and technologies in the green economy. It's going to be a rather broad discussion, not only on cybersecurity. It's going to be on agriculture, on using the technologies in various fields. Again, oil and gas, agriculture, education, innovation, and many others. I would like to invite my colleagues on stage, the panelists. So let's go, all of us. Dominic, please come on stage. Gilad, please. Rufat, Michal, grab your seats. I think, Michal, you should sit next to me so people will see, just next to your pictures. It will be easier. Yeah, Dominic, yeah. I think for the start, let's do a quick round of introductions. Why don't we start with Dominic from your side? Just go one by one, a quick 1-minute intro. What do you do and how relevant are you for this panel? Let's put it this way. Let's make it a bit more fun.
Okay, thank you, Igor. I don't know how relevant I am to this panel. We will see at the end, hopefully. So I'm Dominique Piotet. I'm French and American. I run a tech fund called Ukraine Phoenix Tech Fund. It's a 50 million euro fund that invests in early stage startup with funder from Ukraine and team from Ukraine, and it's obviously an impact fund. We want to help and support the reconstruction of Ukraine and hopefully investing in actually green technologies as much as we can. And I think there's a lot to be done there. So happy to be with you guys.
Thank you. Gilad?
Hello, everyone. Nice to be back in Baku. Always feel welcome here. I think I'm the only representative from Israel, if I'm not mistaken. So first of all, happy to be here and thank you for the hospitality. I'm Gilad from Israel, working today for Techknowledge. Techknowledge is a services and technology corporate based in Europe. We serve government and companies with advanced technology in the field of technical support, skilling, and cybersecurity. Before then, I worked in G42 in the UAE, and before that in the Israeli industry, including Rafael Systems. Again, very nice to be here.
Thank you. Let's move on, Rufat.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rufat Basaransky. I'm representing agricultural sector over here. I'm managing company which name is the Lumon Holding. We are specializing in production of poultry, fish, including caviar, flowers growing, and some sort of organical products production and distribution. So thank you and looking forward for a fruitful discussion.
Michal?
Hello, everyone. I'm Deputy Director for Cybersecurity at the Ministry of Digital Affairs in Poland, and I've got a long-standing civil service experience, so I'm a civil servant, right? But don't worry, I won't bore you to death. We do a lot of interesting things in Poland. I'm looking forward to having a discussion about that. Thank you.
Right, thank you. So again, I'm Igor from the Innovation Digital Development Agency. We are on the verge of developing the startup ecosystem and digitizing some services from the government to people, to the government agencies, business, etc. All right, so today we're going to have more or less 60 minutes for the discussion, and we're going to touch topics like, international collaboration, best practices, case studies, and utilizing technologies in various fields. But why I brought all of this here is because you guys are expected to ask questions. And if you want to ask the question in Azerbaijani, no problem. we have the translation, so we will be able to do that, okay? We plan to have a Q&A session closer to the tail of today's session, so feel free to take some notes. But again, if we will not cover the topic, we will be more than happy to listen to your questions, okay? So I would like to start with overall role of the technology in the green economy. So question to Gilad. Okay, so how about these technologies like which are emerging these days? AI, ML, all of IoT and cybersec stuff used and utilized for the green economy as of today. Just give us like a bigger perspective, what's going on in Israel and what kind of trends do you see these days?
Okay, it's a brilliant question. So imagine a world that by the end of this decade, all our decisions and processes will be based on three main things. AI, algorithms, and machines that will design the most optimal processes. Based on that, we will be able to monitor everything with connected devices, which are the IoT. So everything will be monitorable by those smart devices. And then in order to distribute the information and indexes collected, we will need a trusted network of collaborative information, which is the blockchain technology. So all in all, we will have the ability to optimize our business processes, our economies. We will be able to monitor and improve constantly, and this is the flow of improvement. But not less important, we will be able to share this information in a very verifiable and trusted way using the blockchain technology. Below all those great technologies, we have to have a cybersecurity layer. Otherwise, if the level of trust between collaborators will not be sufficient, no one will trust this cooperation, which we will touch base later on. So I think the holistic overview of the very near future, the end of this decade, is very fascinating, and I think that we will be able to see economies which are not the most wealthiest one and the progress one running to the front of the tech economy.
I totally agree. I think the ICT these days became not the vertical anymore, it became the horizontal, because like it touches all types of different industries as an infrastructure, as again this layer of security and other things. So again, and technologies like AI and ML and others just enhancing the importance of that horizontal layer and its significant impact on different industries. So Rufat, maybe you can share us a bit about what kind of scientific breakthroughs you have seen lately in, say, agriculture or textile or any other industries that you touch in, and something that has a practical implementation in your day-to-day life.
First of all, thank you for raising stakes. Yes, scientific breakthroughs. Thank you. Okay, I'll try. So look, first of all, agriculture is the sector which is in the focus of all stakeholders because of its importance. So according to Maslow's pyramid, the supply of products is necessary to sustain life in the society, to keep the society integrity. Correct. So everybody is interested in the fact that the food is produced and is produced efficiently, and the food is safe, and this food is sufficient.
And quality.
Sorry?
And quality. I must say that Azerbaijani food has a very good quality. That's, as a Ukrainian, I'm just saying.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for your nice words. But we will definitely touch this in the second part of my reply. So that is why, yes, the food production and the agriculture itself is always at the focus. However, here we face another thing, that due to the big social impact in the agricultural sector, the pricing level plays a very vital role. And when the prices for the food produced or the commodities which are produced is not very high, the industry doesn't have enough resources to reinvest into the research and development. And specifically, if we speak about country like Azerbaijan, which is not as big as, say, Ukraine in terms of the agricultural production, and is not as big as, again, Ukraine in number of population. So that means that the market has a very niche gap that of its margin that it can spend for the R&D. And here we come to the fact that when we speak about the Azerbaijan specifically, I'm trying to limit my answer now. So if we speak about the Azerbaijan specifically, we should focus on the most prominent problems that Azerbaijan agriculture is facing. So if you allow, I would like to focus on two of them. It's water and product traceability, which correlates with the product quality. I start with water. So as you know, there were some changes. Finally, there were some changes in the water management and the whole administration of the water resources management recently. They've been announced, and we look forward to this with high hopes, because we are the fish farmers, and the usage of the water resources and the efficient usage of the water resources is very important for us. So when we will be in the condition that the water resources are not free, that the water resources that are provided for the irrigation or the water resources that are provided for the fish farming, they are limited and they are costly, here we start receiving some incentive to invest into the IT-driven solutions, which will minimize the cost of production. So before this will be introduced, it will be very brave to speak that the private sector itself will be focused on investment there. And the second thing is traceability, the product traceability. Here we again would like to speak about the products with high added value. And so we all know, for example, if we are buying, I don't know, some fancy tie from a reputable French or Italian brand, we would like it to have some traceability. We would like to check its credentials that yes, this specific tie is coming from that specific designer. The very same can be, let's say, adopted to the agricultural market, where we can use IT IT-related methods like the blockchaining and etc. to verify the source of that or another product, I mean agricultural product or material. So you can see this example, for example, in the tuna market, which was implemented like 15 or 20 or already 18 years ago, when all bluefin tunas that are sold all over the world, they have this yellow tag with all the necessary information where, who and how it was caught. So coming to a certain conclusion, there are a lot of opportunities to implement the IT solutions and IT-driven technologies in the agricultural sector of Azerbaijan. There is a lot of opportunities to increase the market cap and the price of and the average prices of our products sold. As you said, the products are tasty, and that is very important to deliver these products to specific clients who can pay a higher prices for them.
Yeah, I cannot agree more. Yeah, I agree. So when I was living in Amsterdam, I was shocked by the fact that one of the biggest producers of and exporters of blueberries and cherry tomatoes is the Netherlands, a country which is like rather tiny. It's small, right? But they were using technology to be able to, they figure out this niche and focus on that one in terms of research, development. They have this fantastic, one of the best agricultural tech, science, I don't know, universities in the world. and they basically invested into that. We'll come back to the discussion with you on what kind of environment needs to be created for this green economy or other things to thrive, but keep this as a button.
Sure.
Maybe we can use Azerbaijan as the main producer of black caviar, and this will be the niche and top of the world, and you know, just we'll come to that, okay?
Yes.
Okay. Michal, on the government and regulatory part, right? So policy and regulation support for the green economy. So question is, so how the government can regulate the growth of the technologies like an implementation, because as Rufat mentioned, it's not always financially viable and not that cheap to implement those green technologies in day-to-day life. So what can government do to better facilitate, identify the real need and quickly respond?
Thank you. This is a very good question. And first of all, because I didn't do that before, I'd like to thank the organizers for inviting me. I know that Azerbaijan and Poland, they go back in history, and we share a huge part of good history that both countries can be proud of. Really, I'm here to kind of follow up on that, maybe. The reason I'm here, basically, is that I need to make ties with people, right? And at the end of the day, have a network of people with whom I can follow up, right? And second reason is that probably Poland is a country from which Azerbaijan can learn and things that we've done. But more importantly, I'm here because Azerbaijan, well, this is a very mature country in terms of cybersecurity. I've seen that. I've heard Mr. Ismailov talking about how the overall cybersecurity system is set up in Azerbaijan. It's really very impressive. Plus, he mentioned cyber diplomacy, something that is very much debated on in Brussels. And so, if there's anything that we can make Azerbaijan be more like-minded to us and us more like-minded to Azerbaijan, I'm ready to do that. You know, come back to your question, there are three things. I mean, those of you who work for governments know that there are three things that governments can do, right? They can give you money, take your money away in taxes, right? And they can lock down legal arrangements and law, right? And then they can experiment, right? And in terms of law, it's quite easy because, well, Poland is part of the European Union. 90% of law in cybersecurity, more broadly, on digital, comes from Brussels, right? And if you want to have a deep dive on that, it's all online and it's very easily accessible. With money, it's a bit of a different story because you can spend money in cybersecurity in a smart way and in the standard way. What we have from the EU is the standard way of spending money, right? So if there's any company who wants to be more mature on cybersecurity, you just take part in the program, take the money, and just make yourself go on the next level. But what really make countries stand out is how effectively they experiment. I mean, what you do beyond the simple spending or the simple law making, right? And I can say that Poland is quite prolific on that front, and I would like to say a few things about that. And first of all, is smart spending. Smart spending is when you just you know, when you have a problem that money can resolve. So you'd better go to your finance minister and say, okay, I need this and that kind of money to help my problem. And we have this cybersecurity fund in Poland, cybersecurity fund, and it works in a way that, you know, if you want to be part of the cybersecurity administration, right, So you can either present papers or certificates, right? Or you can pass an exam, which is not easy, right? So we have a lot of money earmarked for that. I'm one of the beneficiaries of that. So what we did basically, we pay extra money to those people who want to stay with administration and work cybersecurity. And it's been around for 3 years right now, and you know, the basic outcome, the most straightforward outcome from that is that we stop the outpour of people who normally would have gone to the private sector working, which is not a bad thing, right? But the administration has their own problems too, right? We need to establish a system which works for everyone, right?
And sustainably.
Yeah, and of course, the other way you can just you can do cybersecurity is cyber diplomacy. I was really struck by, I mean, in a positive way, when Mr. Smiler from the State Service, he talked about this, and he said that this is something that is being debated right here, which is very good. This is the job of making those who are not like-minded, like-minded, right? And the more countries you have sharing the same values, using the same tools, getting that to be more resilient, the better, because cybersecurity is a team sport. So, in a nutshell, you know, what you do, I mean, you can spend money and lay down regulations, but what really makes you strong is what you do beyond that, and how effectively you really experiment.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the Global Innovation Index, one of the key elements there is the effectiveness of usage of invested money into the innovation itself. So like, I think in the data from 2023 states that it's only 38% effective for Azerbaijan. But again, this data is like a year, it's just like the data they collect was from the previous year. So it's not as efficient. So there's a lot of money invested, but then was the outcome in terms of the patents, in terms of the innovation activities and stuff, it's not as good as of today. We're working on that, no worries. It's just I'm throwing some challenges for us. Okay, Dominique.
Yes.
Taking into consideration that you have experience working with public and private sector, you've been on all the sides, working with entrepreneurs, with creating infrastructure for entrepreneurship and stuff. I wanted to ask you a question around the collaboration. You know, what kind of global collaborations between the public and private sector can be better aligned to promote green innovations across borders, not only in one country, but like across the border?
Right. I think, I mean, there's two main elements here. The first one, and I think the key word here is alignment. And that's actually extremely complicated to do, to align. The interest of the public sector might not be the interest of the private sector. But let's take an example. Let's take Elon Musk, for example. So Elon Musk has a vision of our planet going to be extinct in not too long from now. So basically we're going to disappear as a species, right? So that's his vision. I hope this is not what's going to happen, but that's what he believes. And believing that, as a private entrepreneur, he creates SpaceX, and he's like, well, the only hope for us is to go to Mars, right? Does it align with the interest of governments, or the interest of the rest of the planet? Maybe not. Maybe we could try to think about other usage of technology and resources to save our planet. But now there is a problem here. Who is the biggest client of SpaceX?
The government.
The US government. There you go. So where do we find the alignment here? And how do we work on finding that alignment? And this is a key issue. I'm going to take another example, Germany. Germany is the biggest market for electric cars in Europe, right? And there was kind of an alignment between the German auto manufacturers and the German government saying, okay, to develop this emerging market, we need subsidies. And we need the government to help people buy electric cars who are expensive. We need the government to build infrastructure. Well, then the Supreme Court of Germany said those subsidies are illegal. So you, government, cannot anymore subsidize electric cars. Well, guess what? The market collapsed. And the electric car market is collapsing all over Europe. And that brings me to my main second point, is we align, but we align with whom? And if we say, okay, it's the private sector and the government, in fact, we're missing the key component here, which is us. Because this is our planet. And this is with us that we need to align, right? So, in fact, I think we're looking at those issues with the wrong angle, the wrong paradigm. And I think we should completely shift the perspective in how do we align, taking us, the people, or taking our planet as the main stakeholder in this system. And I think this is how we could actually redefine maybe a social contract where government and private entity would globally realign. The problem is we don't have a forum for that. We don't have a platform to discuss those topics, really. And this is the beginning. I think this is a great platform. I think cybersecurity for the green economy is actually an amazing topic. And this is something we could try using a platform like this to align our interests, not only government and public sector, but people. And I think to me that would be the main point, or the main way I would like to answer your question in maybe a more intellectual way.
Thank you for that. Merci beaucoup. Gilad, as a representative of a startup nation, to build on this topic, right, on this international collaboration and collaboration within the country and between the government and the private sector, and also international collaboration when it comes to, again, innovation, technology, science, with a green economy angle to it. Can you give us a bit of, your insights? Why do you think it worked in Israel, which is, in the beginning of the state it was just a desert. Now it's one of the export countries of agriculture. A lot of cybersecurity comes out of this country. A lot of other technologies coming out of this country. What is the secret?
I will not tell it to you. Yeah, I think that Israel is a very vibrant cybersecurity, but a startup nation when huge budgets are being pushed by the government in order to keep it dynamic and to keep the growth. I think that the key element here is collaboration between different entities, different ecosystems that usually are not collaborating together, mainly the private sector and the government sector. Once the government sector is open to the idea of doing joint collaborations and projects and funding private initiatives or working together with private companies, I think that we are seeing many of those initiatives getting matured and helping the economy in general in many aspects. If it's the agriculture, the homeland security in Israel, of course, but also the international collaboration. And I think that an amazing example of international collaboration is a project that I had the privilege to take part in, is a Crystal Ball project that we did right after the Abraham Accords signed between Israel and some of her GCC neighbors. So together with Microsoft and some of those countries, and in order to strengthen their cybersecurity posture and to protect their national critical infrastructures, we designed a project in which Microsoft, as a global player, almost like another nation in this play, provided the technology, the cloud technology and the cloud computing technology and some AI capabilities, and the ability to disseminate information in a secure way. Israel contribute mainly the knowledge and experience. because it's priceless. Once you learn something based on your personal experience, then sharing it with others will save a tremendous amount of effort and time trying to achieve the same goal with the chit-chat of me knowing what already happened. And those specific countries, they actually contributed the data, which is the most important part. So they collaboratively share intelligence and information about cyber incidents that were raised in their specific cyber security operational centers. And in this way, this Crystal Ball project today, it's up and running, make those economies better. Now, only by collaborating and being able to contribute to the overall strengths of an ecosystem, which is the GCC critical infrastructure operation. So I think that collaboration between countries, within countries, between different sectors is crucial. The technologies today are allowing us to do so in a very efficient way, but also a secure way, because without the level of trust, nothing will be shared. And I think we are getting there very fast to an era which, if you are not part of the party, if you are not sharing information, if you are not part of those affiliates, you will be lagging behind.
Makes sense. I think one of the drivers of innovation is the crisis, right? Again, it can be like real life crisis or a created crisis, which usually called vision, right? When someone says, okay, vision 2030, okay, let's do something, right? So this could be a major driver of the innovation overall. We can come back to this discussion. Rufat, question to you. So let's talk about some funding and some incentives for the private sector by the government or someone else, right? So the question will be on, of course, like what is the role of the investment in research and development, which you touched already in your previous answer, and what can be done better by the players, private sector, the state, and other players, I don't know which one, international organizations probably, to develop in Azerbaijan, the green economy things. Again, maybe you have some examples of already implementation of this.
Igor, again, you're packing like 3 different questions into one.
I know.
Each of them can be answered, I think, not be answered less than 1 hour.
That's my job, to challenge you. So, yeah.
Thank you again for challenging me. Well, as said by my honorable colleagues, yes, there are basically 2 levels. It's a theory and a practical application. And the movement of the theory into the practical level and the practical level needs or requirements towards the theoretical exploration happens under specific circumstances. So for me, as for the private business, the circumstance is a business efficiency. So basically, if I understand that there is certain gain for the business, and in the end of the year I will be able to report an extra net profit, I'm going into that or another investment. So speaking about what can be done better and how. First of all, there should be legal framework and standards to be adopted by the government. So, for example, if the local standards for the fish or for the caviar are homologated from the global standards which are respected all over the world, in the US, in the North America, in Asia, in Europe, everywhere, it will be very much easier for me to comply with them on the local market, and it will be easier to enter the exports, to enter the international market. So that is the first ground for me to see the incentive why I should invest that or another amount of money into that or another implementation of recently developed technology. I can bring you a specific example. So yes, today I will be speaking about caviar. Sorry, that is most marginal product in our portfolio, and that is why the majority of our R&Ds they belong to this specific area. In the fish farming, I can name at least four newly introduced initiatives that we are dealing with. First of all, we are farming on a different, in a different types of environment. We are farming on the sea, we are farming in the ponds, we are farming in the water reservoirs, which is combined with the different types of species: Persian sturgeon, beluga, Russian sturgeon, sterlets, freshwater sturgeon, etc. We apply different feeds. Some of them are from Israel, some of them are coming from the Denmark, some of them are locally produced. Different waters, freshwater, salty water. So we're combining everything in an AI-driven model which develops a perfect feeding plan for the sturgeon. Yes, that in terms of the sturgeon, it may not sound so specifically important because it's not farming for the meat. It is farming for the caviar, yes, and so there is no such interest in this specific feed to weight conversion ratio. But the well-being of the sturgeon to raise a perfect caviar is very important. So that's why we're doing it. Another very short example of standards that can be improved is development of a local product standard. As you said, Azerbaijan products are very nice, but there is no standards of locally produced products of protected origin. For example, you can find a Kalamata olives, which can be grown in a very specific region of Greece, and they are sold at a very high price because their production methods are specific and etc. Iberican hamon, not very familiar here due to the religion, but well, it's a world signature product, which is farmed from a very specific pork pigs in a with a very specific diet in a very specific location. So if we adopt a standardization of a locally grown product, it will create for us an amazing thing to introduce to the world, a Caspian caviar. And we already started working in this direction. So there is no standard yet, but we are building of the system of the traceability of our products, which can help a person whenever in the world he buys a jar of our caviar, so that he can identify that it's coming from our farm, and even it's coming from a specific sturgeon which was born at a certain date and raised in a certain pond. And by the way, if in this whole there are system integrators who can be useful for the development of this system and integrating with Russian 1S, please find me after this panel. We have a ground to talk about.
That's very cool. Question on the follow-up question on this one. So you mentioned that you use an AI algorithm to identify the feeding I don't know, like diet or something for
Algorithm,
right? Did you develop it yourself? Was it in the collaboration with some other institution? Can you tell us a bit more over there?
Okay. So it is a pro bono cooperation with the local specialists.
Pro bono?
Yes.
Wow, okay, very cool. So, but that's in Azerbaijan?
In Azerbaijan, yes.
Very good, very good. Do you think that you can export the solution elsewhere?
In case we find it really applicable and we prove the results, we definitely will protect it with the IP rights, and we hope that this will be a product that can be a very big use for the sturgeon farmers and the caviar producers in the worldwide scale.
Gotcha, cool. So to finish on the funding part, Dominique, the question to you on the, what are the current barriers for funding for the startups that are focused on green economy or like green tech solutions, right? What do you see in Europe? What do you see in Ukraine and elsewhere? What are the trends there? Shed us some light.
Actually, I see a lot of barriers, and I'm a bit worried. Well, as a fund manager, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to find big problems but really big problems that are very complex problems, and I'm trying to find startups that are going to bring me breakthrough and help solving those problems. For many, many years, and I think it's still the case, most of the VC funds are either in the US, California, or in Israel, which is great. And we solved many, many big tech problems. Problem of Silicon Valley, and I lived 20 years in Silicon Valley, and I'm still very connected with that, is nobody cares about green tech in Silicon Valley. So nobody cares about it. And when nobody cares about a problem, nobody's trying to solve it, but nobody is trying to fund solving the problem. So our main problem here is the lack of fund dedicated to green technology, and the lack of fund manager who have the vision, the knowledge, the understanding to solve those problems. The second issue we have is, as a fund manager, my job is to bring back money to my own investor, to my LPs. I'm starting to understand that AI is going to bring me money maybe someday, one day, but the bubble is going to explode for sure, so the valuation may be not that great. But how am I going to bring back money on green technology when the problem is we need to solve the planet? We don't need to make money for our investors. We need to bring back good things for our people. And so there is a gap here on the purpose of the fund, which is to bring returns to its investor, and the needs, where the technology is here to solve a problem that is much bigger than all of us. I think the third thing is, and to me, it's probably what should be the easiest thing to solve, is a collaboration between universities and private sector. Because a lot of what we're talking about is heavy science. Like, we need science to solve the green problem of this planet. And good, strong, heavy science happen in universities. So if I go to the US, globally that problem works pretty well. We have technology transfers office, it's pretty well organized, spin-offs from universities, laws are organized. If I go to Israel, I find the same thing. It's extremely well organized, university work very well with the private sector. If I go anywhere else in the world, it just doesn't work, or it just doesn't exist. And I know France, for example, very well. And I'm really passionate about the problem about water, because we have a huge problem with water everywhere in the world, and from Ukraine, from everywhere in the world. There is this really cool technology in France, really cool team. They have the smallest desalination factory in the world, right? It's super small, and you go and you put it where you have seawater, and it works very well. It's cheap to produce, it's great. They can't spin off. They can't spin off because the technology is owned by the university. The university won't let it go. There's no strong laws about how to spin off a technology that is used by a university. There's no fund that is able. So what's going to happen? Well, I know what's going to happen. The team is going to move to the US, and the team is going to be bought by a US company. That happened to many of my friends who have PhDs in France, who moved to Silicon Valley, and Silicon Valley companies have bought the entire team. We cannot continue to do this. So, because this just doesn't work. This is not how we're going to solve the problem of funding greener technology. So we, and I know, Igor, you're working on that as well here in Azerbaijan, and we're working on this in Ukraine. We need to create the regulation, the environment, so researcher in university can turn their research into product, into companies that are going to help solve those problems. And to me, this should be the easiest one, and this should where we should see the easiest and strongest return quickly. And once again, only 2 countries in the world have found a solution extremely successfully. Why don't we do it?
Yeah, I agree. I think according to the stats, there's like more than 300 PhDs in the country right now in Azerbaijan, and around 10% of them actually working on commercialization of what they're working on in terms of the science. So definitely a room for improvement and the way for us to work on it. Question to the audience. Before I ask my last question to Michal, do we have questions from the audience so I can manage my time? If you have a question, can you raise your hand? Okay, one. Okay, cool. Please wait, I'm going to ask the question and then it's to you, okay? All right, so Michal, question to you in terms of the ethical considerations, okay? So very often the innovation is way faster than regulation. I mean, almost everywhere, I think, in the world, right? So it's way ahead of any type of regulation. You know that EU recently had this AI law and regulation, but it came like a couple of years later, even though this is the first one in the world to regulate something. So as we pursue this technological innovation for the greener economy, what are the ethical considerations should we make as entrepreneurs, as as business, and as a government? What are the best practices, and what can you say about maybe Poland or any other states that you have seen working on this in terms of ethical consideration? Tough one, right?
This is a tough question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm still struggling with the headset because I've developed a hearing loss and I need the headset. Well, this is that's a very difficult question, and the approach that the European Union has taken up is that they've taken up this human-centric approach. So whatever they do, they look at the ethical side of the problem before they go ahead with any laws. I mean, whatever we do needs to serve a human being, right?
Sure.
And the basic problem that you're describing here is that sometimes we're lagging behind. I'm going to give an example. In the EU, we have one of the strongest and stringest framework for data protection, right? There are countries that have no regulations like that, or countries that have those regulations at a extremely less stringent level, right? So, as we know, data is the new oil of the digital economy. So the dilemma we have in Europe is that should we go on and keep on developing regulations that have the human well-being at heart, and risk lagging behind those who don't do it and just use data freely and just feed these data into algorithms, right? And the algorithms do miracles, right? And Europe wants to, and this is something that, and it's the same with the climate change, right? With the climate change, for the European Commission 2019-24, there has been this Green Deal thing pursued by the President Ursula von der Leyen. Not every country like that. Poland has been in the opposition for that, because we have a legacy coal mining industry, right? So this is not really. It's very difficult for Poland to switch to a renewable energy, because we still have a lot of coal beneath our feet.
You're lying,
right?
Yes.
And what we do and what we pursue is that we need to take time. We need to take time, and we need to deal first with the coal mining industry and all the things that are connected to it. I mean, there is a social impact if we just get rid of the coal mining industry and just send people on the streets. What kind of social impact it's going to have?
Sure.
Right, but I think, I mean, the key here is innovation. I mean, the innovation steps in here to make because green things, they don't come cheap, right? Have to pay for
Absolutely,
that. They're not as effective at the early stage of their development as they are later on. So we really need to be careful and mindful about innovation. We have to invest in innovation so that the green economy approach pays in the short term or in the midterm, rather than just waiting 10 hours sitting on the sofa waiting until a green economy will start paying on its own, which is not easy.
Yeah.
Then I say research and development. That's something that will come to our aid.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, we definitely need to humanize the approaches, and we definitely need to pay the price because it's costly. We have to pay for that. For if you want to have this planet for the future generations, you have to pay the price now. I agree. Are we ready for the question? So, can you please name yourself and tell who is the question to, and and ask your question, please.
Elçin Əliyev, mənə sual verməyə imkan yaratdığı üçün təşəkkür edirəm, dəvət üçün də təşəkkür edirəm və qeyd etmək istəyirəm ki, bu qulaqçığımda, bu mikrofonda kiber təhlükəsizlik tədbirində təhlükəsiz deyil, saz işləmir. Yəni, böyük problemlərdən danışırıq, xırda problemlər həll olunmur. Bu sizin nəzərinizə çatdırmaq üçün dedim. İkincisi, eşidirsiniz məni, tərcümə alınır. Sual cənab Afşarenkoyadır. Panelin adı elm və texnologiyanın kooperasiyasıdır. Paneldə dövlət və özəl qurumlarının kooperasiyasından danışıldı. İstisna cənab Dominikin çıxışı istisna oldu. Orada elmi problemlərdən danışıldı. Afşarenkoya sualım belədir. Təmsil elədiyi İnnovasiyalar Agentliyində elmlə texnologiyanın əməkdaşlığı üçün hansı nəticələri var, hansı problemlər var və hansı planlar var? Çox sağ olun.
Okay, so my translation didn't work properly. Rufat, can you translate to me, please? I'm challenging you the whole day. I don't know.
What wrong have I done to you?
I don't know.
Okay.
It just didn't work. I don't know. It
Just briefly, the question was about the problems of coordination for the implementation of the green solutions for the sake of the green economy between the governmental and the private bodies, if I understood the question correctly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you
good.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Now
for
it became much easier.
Thank you. So, thank you so much for that question. Again, I'm playing the role of the moderator here, so I'm just asking a question, but thanks for the question. Happy to answer your very direct and good question. So, we as an agency are the regulator. So, we look at what's happening in the country in the various fields. Of course, we're very concerned about the level of, again, commercialization of the research done in the country. As an agency, we did an assessment what is happening in different universities and research institutes. Most of the most of the current developments right now on the TRL4, most of them. We definitely want to do some activities that will increase the level of the research done in those institutions, at least to the 6, 7, and hopefully 8 in the next few years. For that matter, we are establishing R&D labs in some of the universities, and we will announce about that pretty soon. You will see, it's going to be a big tender. It's going to be very big. That's one. Number two, we are attracting international vendors to work on the capacity building within the universities. So again, we can talk about this for a long time, but let's be frank, even if the university or research institute have a unit specifically focused on commercialization, not necessarily it brings any results as of today. So what we want to do is attract those international vendors to do the training, not only the training, but train the trainers, so we can have some local people to constantly improve them, again, from TRL4 to 5 to 6 to 7, and very important, to commercialize it. Because just the research is super important, but let's make it sustainable so that the PhDs and the candidates for PhDs think from day one, what can this be applied to, whatever the research is about. And there's some works done, and you will see a couple of announcements really soon. And I'm happy to tell you more face to face.
Igor, I can bring you one very practical example if you would like to.
Tell me.
So answering your question about the practical applications. So if we are speaking specifically about the green economy and sustainability, again, my example will relate to the sales of the caviar and the farming of the caviar, because there is a margin over there, and this margin can be utilized to make this product sustainable. So for each caviar jar that we're selling, we are releasing 10 sturgeons into the sea. That is our environmental commitment that we took, and we're following the UN SDGs. Meanwhile, the products with such specific market specification, which differentiated it from all other caviar products in the world, gained popularity and generated an extra profits for us that we have later invested into 2 types of R&D projects. One R&D project is that we have done together with ADA, Azerbaijan Diplomatic Academy, and the University of Bologna, was concerned about the conservation of the caviar with the methods of cold plasma. Yes, it's not very IT related, it's more about physics and biology, but yes, that's what we did. And the second initiative that we have managed to fund is the Cure the Cura initiative, which will be officially launched at the COP meeting. This is made together with the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences, and it will be related to increase the efficiency of the fish release. So right now we release fish and we do not know where it's going. So the project will be about tracing its routes, tracing where it goes in the Kura River, in the sea. Unfortunately, if we can have an agreement with Trans-Caspian countries, we will be able to cover with beacons all the equator of the Caspian Sea, but let's see how it will be. So that is 2 very practical achievements related to the green economy, which we are discussing here.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for your answers. Thanks for the audience for your time. Let's wrap it up. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Teşekkürler. All right.
Panelistlərimizə təşəkkür edirik. Günün sonuncu panelinin moderatoru cənab Zaur Allahverdizadəni səhnəyə dəvət edirik.
Herkese salamlayıram. Xoş gördük. I would like to welcome all of you here today, and first of all would like to thank PROSOL and Babek Agayev for inviting me to moderate the panel. I'm mindful of time and would like straight away to start my panel and to invite my esteemed panel speakers to the floor. So first of all, Rana Mamadova, Ms. Rana Mamadova, General Manager at Coca-Cola Azerbaijan. Oscar Bogopolsky, Chief Executive Manager of McDonald's Azerbaijan. Samir Mammadov, UN Global Compact Country Manager, and Mr. Farhad Parvizi, Director of Advisory Services at Baker Tilly, Azerbaijan. Dear speakers, thank you very much for again accepting the invite and came here today. So I prepared the questions for you. So regarding our topic today, which is about supply chain and third-party risk management from a cybersecurity perspective, and I think it's quite interesting topic, taking today's realities, and especially in the businesses where supply chain plays a pivotal role. So my first question, Rana Khan, will be to you. So how would you describe the Coca-Cola supply chain system, and how do you ensure its safety from potential risks?
Thank you, Zaur. Thank you, Zaur, for your question. So you decided to start with me, as I understood. Okay, hi everyone. As all of you are aware that Coca-Cola is a quite big organization which operated globally, and we are continue our successful business worldwide. And I would like to point out that Coke system integrates various functions like human resource, finance, sales, marketing, supply chain, to ensure the efficient flow of materials and final goods from supplier to our customer. And as I said, we are quite big organization, and Coca-Cola İçecek has operation in 12 countries, and every supply chain department in each and every country are using the same digital platforms. And it means that they take advantage of that to meet our customer demands. So latest updated technologies are being used for inventory management, production planning, demand forecast, and while being so digitalized, we strive to how can I say, to commit to be committed to sustainability, and our supply chain department also has ambitious plan to meet our sustainability programs by reducing our footprint. So in the next step, our main goal is to protect our security from potential risk. That's why we create a lot of platforms, a lot of frameworks, and risk management framework, one of them. And it includes risk assessment, contingency plans, and proactive measures against potential breaches. And I should say that in today's business world, information security is becoming increasingly important phenomenon as digitization is embedded into our business as a high stage. So according to Allianz 2022 risk barometer, top 10 business risk survey, data fraud, cyber attacks, and information system collapse are among the top 10 business risks in terms of probability and global impact. So as Coca-Cola CCI, Coca-Cola İçecek, we have data security and privacy program in place to mitigate this risk. And I should say that since 2016, Coca-Cola İçecek has ISO 27001 Information Security Management System certificates and successfully passed audits annually. When we are talking about digitization of our production, digitization of our business, we shouldn't forget our employees because they are deliver our success. So that's why we continuously invest on our people training, because in order to improve their awareness on security programs, we provide online and offline trainings for our employees, and there is a mandatory training program, cybersecurity training program for all employees since 2014. So by conducting those practices, our aim to maintain resilient supply chain, protected against potential risk, while continue to provide high-quality products to our customers and consumers.
Great, thank you very much. And I think you touched upon a really good moment on educating the employees. I think this is the core. You should start to educate the employees, all the people around you, and on how to defend, let's say, the company or the supply chain from cybersecurity standpoint. I mean, from malicious attacks, phishings, etc. So it's from the several risks. So I think, yeah, and it's good that you're providing that program for your employees, training them and developing them.
No, we every time
improving
say
the understanding of the cybersecurity.
this is our is our most important asset. That's why we should invest to people, and they will bring to your success to the system. And cybersecurity is quite important part of our business nowadays. So we should, each organization should think about it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So, Oscar, thank you for being here today. And as one of the world's most recognized brands, Coca-Cola and also McDonald's, you both operate in a vast and a complex, supply chain, working with the numerous partners across the world and in the region in Azerbaijan. So can you please tell us how McDonald's Azerbaijan is adapting to the digital economy with a focus today on mobile apps and delivery systems, digital payment, and how cyber security plays a critical role in this to secure your operations?
Thank you, Zaur. Good afternoon, everyone. Our digital journey started in 2019 when we introduced our mobile application. Since then, we have more than 1,200,000 downloads only in Azerbaijan and more than 120,000 digital transactions every month on average. We went further and we introduced so-called experience of the future concept of the restaurant, where you have digital screens in every restaurant, you have digital self-ordering kiosks, where customers can fully take control on their order. Now good. We started delivery journey also in 2019 with 3 PO partners, and which means we're not operating the delivery business itself, and our partners do that on our behalf. We introduced digital food safety in 2020, which means that all the processes and all the security measures in restaurants at the moment can be digitally observed both by our headquarters in Azerbaijan and in Chicago. And we're planning to introduce so-called mobile order and pay system in the Q2 next year, which means that using our application, you will be able to proceed with the order, pay for it, and whenever you are in a restaurant in 1 hour, 2 hours, whenever you would like, you just notify the restaurant and your order being prepared in 2-3 minutes. Having said all of that, we start thinking about customer data protection, about additional cybersecurity measures, about making our partners comply with all our regulations, and as a result we have third-party risk management program, and all our main suppliers, all our main partners we cooperate with have to be in compliance with that program. Actually, Coca-Cola is in compliance with all of them, as well as we're in compliance with all the standards of Coca-Cola. We recognize our standards. We have customer data protection program. We have global data warehouses, which are in compliance with both corporate and local regulations. We have Global Security Operations Center, where our specialists oversee in a real life time all the transactions and see all potential threats. So pretty much that's all. Not going deeply in details regarding cybersecurity and digital in McDonald's.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much, Oscar, for sharing your experience and as what you're doing while, you know, I think that's another thing, you know, like while creating all those, you know, the mobile apps and, you know, because ordinarily people, citizens are using those apps. I mean, besides, I'm not talking about the legal entities because it's a different issue. They have legal entities, they have their lawyers, they have their cybersecurity teams, and etc. But, you know, ordinary citizens, when they're using, I mean, and maybe they're not, again, not paying attention to the data privacy, you know, protection there. But I think this is much of the issues nowadays. I mean, and all those legislations, regulations in Europe and in other countries in Azerbaijan. So it is targeted, you know, to protect the privacy of the personal information of the people. Thank you, Samir. You are representing one of the, you know, UN Global Compact in Azerbaijan, and you know, cybersecurity is one of the, I would say, the topics that UN is, you know, data privacy and cybersecurity is touching up on. So I would like to ask you, what is the parallel or touch points between cybersecurity and corporate sustainability, and do they cross, you know, go in tandem or exit in isolation? And my another question would be, what should be the role of corporations in empowering their value chains in cybersecurity or operational excellence, if you can enlighten us?
Thank you. Greetings, everyone.
Allow me by setting the scene in terms of what we mean by corporate sustainability. It's an international phenomenon that when we talk about sustainability, and especially in Azerbaijan now in the wake of COP29, we think of climate, and climate is obviously one of many pillars of sustainability, which includes fair employment, gender, human rights, the governance, anti-corruption, when we talk about corporate sustainability. When we look at cybersecurity, and as a disclaimer, I'm no expert in cybersecurity. In fact, I'm more of a victim usually than an expert. We again assume that the purpose of an attack is more of a commercial or operational, but what we see it's not always that. Usually there is more of a challenge of can we do this or can we not do this, and then it interferes with operational processes where say damage to environment for broken processes is inevitable. If we take banking sector as an example, so card fraud results in, if we just take customers, it results in social, emotional, economic damage on both the individuals and inevitably the household economy. So here is the most common ways where cybersecurity or cyber attack, even if it targets a corporation, right, it then obviously and inevitably impacts either the environment, workforce, or the community. And there are numerous examples of, say, if we were measuring it in the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, there is an impact of on each of the sustainable goals, depending on the purpose of the attack, depending on the victim on the attack being the corporation, and depending on the methodology, right? So they very much cross. Now, in terms of the supply chains, I'm going to use a cliche that a corporation strives on its supply chain, right? It doesn't strive on a supply chain from idealistic purposes. In order for a corporation to deliver a product, service, whatever value it is they're offering to their customers, be it consumer or corporate, it builds its proposition off of its supply chain. Now, on numerous panels today, there was discussion about, so Lumen Holding does a big philanthropic portfolio on, say, preserving the population, or in fact restoring the population of sturgeon, right? Now, there's of course ideology behind it, there's sentiments behind it, from the corporation, but there's also a very much a commercial, and that's in the best possible meaning of the word I'm saying. There's a commercial value that returns to the holding. And it's very much the same with organizations empowering their supply chains. And it's not only about cybersecurity, but cybersecurity is probably the most obvious sort of example of how an attacked supply chain, a broken supply chain, damages, disrupts the corporation. Right? So I think the main message here is that any dimension of corporate sustainability in business we talk about, should not be perceived as corporations and their supply chains as idealistic, sentimentally driven, or even as a result of a regulatory pressure. It should be solely motivated by operational and commercial purposes. It shouldn't be sitting in far budgets that are shrink on a bad day. It should be very much the core of the operations. Right? So again, we can talk about empowering, say, gender practices through supply chain. The purpose is the same. We can talk about making sure that the supply chains are environmentally friendly, again for the purpose of operational sort of continuity of the corporation. But I think cybersecurity is the most obvious example where it is clear that your supply chain is weak, it struggles, your business is interrupted.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Samir. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you touched a really nice point when, like sometimes, yeah, we see that companies are just shrinking their budgets, and what they put in place when they're yearly planning their budget for the cybersecurity, which is, again, it's a big picture. What we've seen, it's the protection of welfare of the, let's say, people, employees, and your stakeholders, and also, again, the money lost. Yeah, it's at the end of the day, again, you shrink in the budget, but in the long term, you're losing the money.
Absolutely. If I could add, I mean, the rhetoric has changed. So if initially the single item in the shareholder value was profitability, it then evolved to say, okay, there's shareholder value and then there's sustainability that includes governance and cybersecurity. Well, then it becomes sort of, in a parallel, when now the rhetoric has completely changed into, corporate sustainability being a part of shareholder holder value, not on a side, on a parallel of it, and that's precisely that. Thank you.
Thank you, Samir. Farhad, my next question will be to you. Taking into account your vast experience in supply chain, can you please tell us what are the major risks in supply chain in post-pandemic, during war and AI revolution periods?
Yeah, thank you, Zaur. That's an interesting topic. I can talk hours about that. But let me first tell the story of Bayron Chanshun. Bayron is not a title, it's a name of a simple Chinese guy who is working in Hong Kong office in one of the big international corporations. It was the end of last year when Bayron received an email from the group CFO, who is based in London, asking him to make a secret transaction of 200 million Hong Kong dollars, which is approximately $25.5 million, to a secret account. Bayron, obviously, as experienced financial controller, had doubts about that. He saw this a phishing email. So he requested a video call with the group CFO to confirm that this transaction should really happen. To his surprise, next day, he made a video call on where the group CEO, the group CFO, other financial controllers from London office that he knew very well personally were present. And altogether, they have approved this transaction of $25.6 million. So he executed it. It was to his great surprise a few days later when he found that all of this meeting was a deep fake. So the hackers used the social media of the group, CEOs, top-level leaders. They have used his social media to find the close people within the company to him. They have used the video imagery, their voices, and they faked everything, staged everything. And for people who work in supply chain and in procurement, we know that we do a lot of things through WhatsApp, through phone calls. Your boss will call you, oh, you need to urgently buy this, you urgently need to pay for that. This era is gone, guys. That's a clear message of what AI brings us today. You cannot rely anymore on anybody calling you, video calling you. You cannot rely on anything digital that you're seeing with your own eyes. This is another complication and externalities that we need to consider. In 2008, Harvard Business Review published an article. It was called The Death of Supply Chain. They said that because supply chain decision-making is so much data-driven, that's why there will be no need for the people to manage the supply chains in the future. Because AI and machine learning can do demand planning much better, release purchase orders much better, release payments sooner, much more efficiently and cheaper than people does. Partially this is true, this is what we have been seeing in developments in supply chain and procurement, with few probable additions, with two animals that are causing a problem. One is actually a bird, not an animal, it's a black swan. black swan in economics and risk management, we call events that has very low probability but very high impact. And the story comes that English people would call impossible events black swan before they discovered Australia, where black swan existed. That's why in economics and risk management we call black swan, again, event, very rarely happening, but very huge impact. The people may think that pandemics was one of that black swan events. Even though I partially disagree with that, I generally think that humanity has forgotten how to fight pandemics, and if borders were closed in the February, not end of March, we would have avoided much of the mess. Because last pandemics was like 100, 150 years ago, and we as a humanity forgot how to prepare for them. But apart from that, regardless in which sector, whether you believe in a conspiracy that is all faked by government to control us as a social experiment, or this is really a medical case, reaction should have been sooner, clearer. And this is what we don't train our machine nowadays. We don't train our machines for the black swan events. We don't make them resilient to the low probability impacts. And this is one of the things that our new algorithm should take into consideration, because it seems that we're getting into era of economic disruption and political disruption. And when I call political distortion, here we have a second animal that is coming into the place, a gray rhino. Rhino is Kergedan, Nasarok, for anybody who is not familiar with animal names in English. Gray rhino is a different event. Imagine yourself, you're standing in savannah, and from very, very far away, you're seeing some gray matter, but you don't immediately identify it. You don't understand what is that. It is very far away. You only notice that it's the rhino running towards you when the rhino is very close, and you don't have any way to escape the rhino anymore because they're very fast. You see rhino only when it is too close. So with the changing world orders that we're seeing today, with what's happening between West and Russia, between West and Asia, some people may think that, oh, this was unpredictable. We're all been fooled by the political romanticism of Francis Fukuyama in his book, The End of the World. He said that, okay, Soviet Union collapsed, Asia, communism in Asia is actually red capitalism rather than communism. Everybody is drinking cola, eating McDonald's, wearing jeans, fighting for the Western understanding of freedom. And he said that's end of time. West is won and there's nothing else to do. So we've all been fooled by this political romanticism and forgot that in a history we have seen many, many empires rising and collapsing. And this cycle is coming every 100, 150 years. We have seen Spanish Empire, then we have seen dominance of British Empire, Holland Empire. In the last, starting from the Second World War, we're seeing the dominance of the United States on the planet. And all of this bringing us to the understanding, are we really ready are we resilient to address the political risk? Because what we have seen between Russia and Crimea, we have been noticing this in 2009, when we have seen that agreements between Russia and West are not being implemented in terms of their own security. In 2014, it was very much clear after the annexation of Crimea that the big war is coming. Have we seen any American companies leaving Russia those times? I think BlackRock is still in Russia till now even. So when Trump came to the power, we have seen a definite turn between cooperation with Europe and China as well in 2017. Has humanity made any changes in their decision making? Has other political parties made a decision in their changing? All of this raises a point to how we're going to survive in the current changing world order. What lessons are we learning from both pandemics, from black swan event, and from gray rhinos? How many companies does a chief economist and how many companies in Azerbaijan today do the political hedge management against the political risks? We always thought that politics is something irrelevant to the business. And from 2002, when all the logistic channels collapsed, when we faced substantial disturbances in railway, and trucking business, in sea transport, everywhere logistic channels got disrupted after 2022, the war between Russia and Ukraine. So my question is really to the business community, are you ready for all of those changes? Both in terms of what's AI bringing to us today and what political changes are bringing to us today. And this is probably the question both to Adi to think about. There is no definite answer, but I think we're living in partially exciting times and very dangerous times sometimes. And with this positive note, I would like to go back to you, Zaur. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Farhad. Just interesting, very interesting speech. Thank you very much. And just to go back a bit, and I would like to just ask you to a bit elaborate more on how technology helps and which extra risks it brings for the supply chains.
Technology, again, we have talked about that would be unfair towards the technology. I just talked about its risks. Yes, AI deepfakes is very bad, but from other side, the supply chain really benefits a lot from machine learning. It's the question what we'll teach the machines, obviously, and how we set up our AI integration into our operations. But from other side, what we're seeing nowadays becoming very important is the traceability of the products that are being sold across the board. In the previous discussion, for example, wildly caught caviar is a big problem. You cannot actually, many countries in the developed world that have money, they cannot buy it. And the technology, especially the blockchains, are a very big step forward in terms of traceability. And if we take it further, even one of the biggest costs of the supply chains currently is the transaction fees and transaction speeds. We know you cannot do anything with banks without banks nowadays. And the new modern technologies helps to eliminate this cost by introducing business-to-business, consumer-to-consumer transactions, directly avoiding huge banking fees. Whether the bank lobby will be happy with this or not, this is the second question, and how they're gonna try to stop this progress is another question. But mostly, ability to trace the documents, trace the transactions, trace the products through one blockchain would be a substantial benefit of the technology bringing into the supply chain and procurement operations.
Thank you very much, Farhad. Before, again, I'm mindful of time, and just before going to the questions from the audience, do any of the panelists has any comments, or do you want to add anything, any of you? Do you have any message maybe to give? Yes.
If you allow, again, it's a lunchtime, and I think the panelists as well as the audience is ready to enjoy it. Just to reiterate it, when we talk about cybersecurity and other provisions to your supply chains, it is not a matter of sentiments. It's a matter of business continuity. I think McDonald's and Coca-Cola are where they are for numerous reasons. One of them is probably taking good care of their supply chains, of their suppliers, having very thin to no line between their own operations as well as the operations of their supply chains. So I think for business it is critical to understand that you can protect yourself, but if you're not taking care of your supply chains, you're probably as exposed as you did not have any provisions to protect your own assets. Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that. Actually, it's in our DNA and philosophy. We always say that we're on the top of a three-legged stool, and one leg is franchisee, one leg is supplier, and the third leg is McDonald's itself. So without our suppliers and without our franchisees, our success would be impossible.
Thank you.
We just make sure that all our critical suppliers are approved ones and believe and share the same values we do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much. Is there any question that from the audience that you would like to ask our guests, panelists? No, nothing. Okay. Then I would like to thank all of our esteemed panelists. Thank you very much for coming and for your speeches, for the answers to the questions. Thank you very much.